Good evening, everyone. This is Melissa Thomas of Florida National News coming to you with the evening news rundown for your Wednesday, December 16th, 2020. Hopefully, you've been having a great week so far. As always, we'd like to extend an invitation to anyone looking to advertise with Florida National News or looking to sponsor one of our segments. You can email us at ads@floridanationalnews.com to find out more. Now, as usual, we like to get started with the latest COVID-19 reports globally here in the United States and in the state of Florida. So, globally, according to the World Health Organization, they're reporting over 72.1 million confirmed cases and over 1.6 million confirmed deaths. Here in the United States, Johns Hopkins University is reporting over 16.7 million confirmed cases and over 305,000 confirmed deaths. Here in the state of Florida, the Department of Health's dashboard is reporting over 1.1 million confirmed cases and over 20,300 confirmed deaths combined between residents and non-residents. Now, jumping into our world story today, several European nations are tightening their COVID-19 restrictions ahead of the holiday season, specifically ahead of Christmas. Now, some of those European countries include the Netherlands, which has now entered a 5-week lockdown with non-essential shops, theaters, and gyms all closing. Germany will enter a hard lockdown from today after the number of infections there have hit record levels. Now, meanwhile, Europe's medicines regulator is set to meet sooner than planned to consider approving a vaccine. Originally, they were scheduled to meet on December 29th. They have now moved that meeting up to December 21st to discuss whether or not the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine should be rolled out around the bloc in Europe. That vaccine has, of course, already been approved in the U.S. and the U.K. and is being distributed in those areas. So we want to keep you guys updated with regards to that. In recent weeks, governments around the continent have been wrestling with difficult questions about whether to ease restrictions in time for the holiday period. But with the recent wave of infections in some nations, that has prompted those governments to put a halt to easing their restrictions. Now, jumping here to the United States, in a bit of an update with regarding vaccines here, the Moderna vaccine is one step closer to getting its authorization. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration staff have endorsed the Moderna vaccine, saying that they have not seen any serious side effects in folks who were administered the vaccine in adults over the age of 18. Now, they released official documents on Tuesday, and the FDA staff have endorsed it as safe and effective. Now, as you saw in the numbers we reported earlier, the COVID-19 pandemic has killed more than 300,000 people here in the U.S., and the government is counting on the Moderna shot to help fulfill its promise to inoculate 20 million people this month. Now, the FDA decision on whether to issue the emergency use authorization of the Moderna vaccine will be made after a panel of outside advisors meets tomorrow. The FDA typically follows the advice of the panel, though it's not required to do so. Now, of course, Moderna will be the second vaccine that the FDA has considered behind the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, which began administration on Monday. Now, according to the New York Times, which is citing unnamed sources, they reported that the FDA decision on Moderna's vaccine would be on Friday. The FDA did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the New York Times report. The FDA staff said in documents prepared for that meeting that a 2-dose regimen of Moderna's vaccine was highly effective in preventing confirmed cases of COVID-19 and did not raise any specific safety issues, as I mentioned before, in adults over the age of 18. Moderna released data in their documents supporting previous statements that the vaccine may also prevent some asymptomatic infections of COVID-19. It said 38 trial participants in the placebo arm of its trial tested positive for COVID-19 without exhibiting any symptoms at the time of their second dose. And that's nearly triple the number in the vaccine arm of the trial. Now, both Moderna and Pfizer designed their late-stage trials to show that their vaccines were capable of preventing more significant forms of COVID-19 in the hope that the shots could prevent hospitalizations and eventual deaths. But preventing asymptomatic infection is also important and could reduce the chances of vaccinated people infecting the unvaccinated, which further stems the spread of disease. We here at Florida National News will continue to keep you updated on that. Now, jumping here to the state of Florida, speaking of the vaccine, a bit of unfortunate news. Governor Ron DeSantis did announce that Florida's vaccines are on pause right now. There has been a delay in the delivery. The largest hospital system in Florida says it's on track to immunize nearly 20,000 healthcare workers. But for right now, we have to wait for the Pfizer vaccine. And that's exactly what Governor DeSantis said, quote, "We're just going to have to wait. Obviously, it would be shipped relatively soon if we got it. He said this in a news conference in West Palm Beach. He said, quote, "We don't know if we're getting any or not, but," he said, "the state will take what it can get as it attempts to take control of a pandemic that here has infected more than 1.1 million people in the state of Florida." And that's since March. That's since the COVID-19 virus has appeared here in March. Florida began receiving its share of the COVID-19 vaccine on Monday. You guys saw those reports. And the state is expected to receive about 450,000 doses produced by Pfizer over the next 2 weeks. But production issues could prevent them from being delivered. We'll continue to keep you guys posted on that. In the meantime, we're going to take a brief commercial break. We're going to come back with some more stories for you. Thanks for tuning in and stay tuned.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
Welcome back to the Evening News Rundown. In our next U.S. story, congressional leaders are saying that they're optimistic about new talks about fresh coronavirus aid. The four top congressional leaders, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, as well as the two leaders in the House, Speaker Pelosi and Representative McCarthy, they all met up on 2 different days to discuss the deal and wanted to give you guys a bit of an update on that. Senator McConnell said, quote, "We are getting closer and closer. I am optimistic that we are going to be able to complete an understanding sometime soon." Now, with pressure building on Congress to deliver more help for the nation suffering under this resurgent pandemic, McConnell and House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy met twice on Tuesday, along with the other 2 Democratic leaders in a rare face-to-face negotiating session. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated. They left without announcing a deal, but Representative McCarthy said, quote, "I think we're moving in the right direction. I think there's a possibility of getting it done. So we're finalizing out to see if it's possible. Let's keep working." Senator Schumer said after the second meeting, quote, "We're making progress and hopefully we can come to an agreement soon. I think there's genuine desire to come to an agreement." Now, in each gathering, Treasury Secretary Steven Mnuchin was there by phone. Now, McConnell told reporters earlier he hoped a fresh package of coronavirus relief could be attached to the government funding measure because, of course, they're meeting for a spending bill to prevent a government shutdown. Now, McConnell also reiterated his view early on Tuesday that the best way to get a deal on a fresh COVID-19 aid plan was to drop the most contentious items out of the bill: liability protections for businesses, which is preferred by Republicans, and aid to state and local governments, which is preferred by the Democrats. Now, House Speaker Pelosi spoke to Mnuchin by phone for over an hour earlier on Tuesday, and they've been frequently negotiating partners in the efforts in recent months to reach a consensus on a new coronavirus relief package. Of course, back in the spring, Congress approved the $3 trillion in coronavirus aid, but lawmakers have argued since then about whether more is needed. The pandemic, of course, intensified, killing over 300,000 Americans and leaving millions unemployed. So leading lawmakers this week have been hammering out the government spending measure, a $1.4 trillion bill for the fiscal year that began on October 1st. Now, a source said on Tuesday that the task was basically done, but lawmakers from both parties were still seeking to strike a consensus on coronavirus relief in hopes of attaching it to the spending bill. Now, Speaker Pelosi told reporters before that first meeting very plainly, quote, "We'll have to come to an agreement, and we hope that it will happen in a way that keeps the government open." Now, a bipartisan group of lawmakers from the House and Senate unveiled a COVID-19 aid package this week of $908 billion in 2 parts. One part is a $748 billion proposal, including aid to small businesses, the unemployed, and vaccine distribution. The other part includes 2 main sticking points on Capitol Hill that Senator McConnell had cited: the liability protections for businesses and other organizations, and $160 billion for state and local governments. Now, Democratic President-elect Joe Biden has urged Congress to act quickly on the coronavirus aid before he takes office on January 20th. But even if Congress does take action, his new administration will likely seed another round of aid next year. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated on that. Jumping here to the state of Florida, heading over to the Space Coast, to be specific, the final 2020 SpaceX mission is set to create some sonic booms in Central Florida. So if you are on the Space Coast, just be prepared for that. The launch is set to be happening on Thursday. Weather conditions do look mostly favorable for that last launch happening Thursday. A mission slated to include Earth-shaking sonic booms generated by a Falcon 9 booster's return to Cape Canaveral. Now, if the schedules hold, SpaceX will face a 70% go condition at Kennedy Space Center for its 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. launch. Specific takeoff time has not been specified yet, of a secretive intelligence satellite owned by the National Reconnaissance Office, or the NRO. An exact liftoff time for that 3-hour window will be released a little bit later. Now, the Space Force's 45th Weather Squadron announced on Tuesday, quote, overnight Wednesday into Thursday morning, a strong high-pressure system moving east from southern Texas will bring cooler, drier air to the Space Coast, which will, of course, affect the liftoff. They said the primary weather concern for Thursday is liftoff winds and a thick cloud layer rule associated with any lingering frontal cloudiness. So we'll continue to keep you guys posted there. After liftoff, Falcon 9's 162-foot first stage booster will separate from the second stage, then start its descent back toward Florida. And it's that descent that will cause the sonic booms that you might hear. Its target will be landing zone 1 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, which is about 9 miles south of Pad 39A. As it descends toward the tip of the Cape, Space Coast residents and spectators should be prepared for triple sonic booms, so 3 of those, generated by the booster, which are harmless, save for a few frights and triggered car alarms, all right? So if you're in that area, just be prepared for that. Now, SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket was selected by the NRO for this mission known as NRO-L-108. Now, though the intelligence agency rarely provides details about its payloads, mission artwork released Tuesday does show an angry fanged gorilla beating its chest next to text that reads, quote, peace through strength. Thursday's launch will mark the 31st of the year from the Space Coast. So congrats to the Space Coast on that as we round out the year. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to take another quick commercial break and come back with your business and sports stories. And yes, it is #Worker Wednesday. So we do have Angel Perry waiting in the wings to talk about a story that we brought to you yesterday about the state of California versus Amazon. So we've got a lot to talk about. Stay tuned.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a point.
My hand is clean. Yeah.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
Welcome back to the evening news rundown. In our business story, Orlando International Airport is testing a system to monitor crowd density that will allow travelers to exercise their judgment as to where they want to travel in terms of social distancing during the COVID-19 pandemic. They deployed a pilot program for a crowd detection system that is produced by a company called Synect. The monitoring system is called Even Flow Crowd Radar. And of course, this particular company, Synect, is a company with an Orlando office that trumpets itself as a creator of next generation visual communications content. Now, Synect CEO Yahav Ran hailed Orlando International Airport as a site of the world's first trial for their system. Now, the Even Flow system comes as the COVID-19 pandemic approaches its 10th month here in the United States, and as health officials continue to emphasize the importance of social distancing, among other safety measures. Now, the system has been in place at Southwest Airlines gates 101 through 109 at the airport since November 20th, since the company says that, and the company says it will continue testing there for the next 7 months. Officials said they chose those particular gates because Southwest represents the airport's busiest airline based on departing passengers. Now, at a Tuesday news conference at Orlando International, Ron called the project, quote, part of our visual communication efforts to reduce passenger anxiety and make travel safer at the airport and hopefully in the entire industry. Now, the system features a lighted display panels and poles at and near the airport gates. Color codes from light green, meaning low traffic, to red, meaning peak traffic, represent the degree of crowd density at each gate. A traveler can look at the Even Flow panel at gate 101 to see the crowd levels at succeeding gates. The traveler thereby can decide, without having to walk all the way to gate 109, whether to look for another area in which to wait for a flight. Now, Phil Brown, the CEO of the Greater Orlando Aviation Authority, which operates Orlando International Airport, pointed out that the airport earlier partnered with SYNEC to create throughout the airport digital messages that offer travel safety and other information. So this new crowd monitoring system is actually a next step in their relationship. Now, Brown said the Aviation Authority would decide whether after the pilot to expand the even flow system throughout the airport. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated on that. Now, getting into our sports story, going back to the NBA, you guys have likely heard about the Toronto Raptors temporarily having their home here in Tampa in the state of Florida at Amalie Arena. And they recently announced that they too will have fans in the stands for the early part of the NBA season and in the preseason as well. Now, tickets for the home games through the end of January, including Friday's exhibition game against the Miami Heat and the December 23rd regular season opener against the New Orleans Pelicans, will go on sale tomorrow at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Now, ticket sales will be mobile only as an added safety measure. There's no word yet on the other 6 home games scheduled to be played in Tampa for the first half of the season, while the Toronto Raptors call their home, starting with the February 14th game against the Minnesota Timberwolves. So this is so that the league can evaluate and allow for capacity adjustments. So for the numbers, fewer than 3,200 socially distanced seats will be available in the preseason at Amalie Arena, and during the season, 3,800 seats will be available, which has this. Now, Amalie Arena typically has a capacity of 20,500 people for basketball. Now, tickets will be sold in pods of 2 and 4. Prices will begin at $30 for the preseason games, and the regular season games will range from $35 to $175. Amalie Arena will have several safeguards in place to protect their teams and spectators, very similar to what Amway Arena or Amway Center and what you guys heard us report with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. So there'll be no floor seats in Amalie Arena for these games and no seats sold within 30 feet of the court. Fans ages 2 and older must wear a mask at all times while inside the venue, and the arena will have enhanced service and air disinfection systems. Now, similar to Raymond James Stadium, where the crowd is limited to 25% capacity, fans must fill out a health survey screening. All concessions and parking lot transactions will be cashless, and bags are prohibited inside the arena. Now, the NBA has allowed teams to decide whether or not to allow fans in the arenas for home games this season. And of course, these regulations are dependent on what state and local governments controlling mass gatherings are saying. So we'll continue to keep you guys updated there. Now, the Raptors are calling Tampa home for that first half of the season, which runs through March 4th. At that time, they can return to Toronto if Canadian travel restrictions have eased, or they can choose to remain in Tampa. They have access to Amalie Arena all the way through to the end of NBA postseason on July 22nd. Now, the Raptors have already built temporary team offices and a practice facility at the JW Marriott Hotel next to Amalie Arena. Now, as we wrap up sports, it is hashtag Work on Wednesday. So we do have our awesome analyst, our lovely Angel Perry, who is the Executive Vice President of the Communications Workers of America, Local 3108. And she is here to help us kind of unpack the story that we did share with you guys yesterday about California versus Amazon and their Amazon's kind of workplace safety protocols in general, and more specifically as it relates to COVID-19. So take it away, Angel. Let us know what are the most important things we need to know.
Well, some of the challenges with COVID that we're uncovering. So all of those workspaces that you have OSHA regulations, you have policy and procedure. What's new and introduces communicable diseases like COVID-19? That's new. Mm-hmm. So even though the CDC has the guidelines, it's not a law. And under labor work relations between the Fed and the state and private companies, they're at will of what the safety precautions are. Now, with Amazon in particular, thanks to Reveal and good investigative reporting by Will Evans, it was uncovered last year in November that year over year from 2016, Amazon's fulfillment centers had increases in injuries in themselves. So whatever safety protocols that they were saying they do, and we're going to put $1 billion towards safety, it gave me the impression that $1 billion is the safety so they didn't get sued, not because they were trying to save the employees. Last year alone, according to their data, thanks to Will Evans, 14,000 serious injuries. 14,000. Wow. So we know that CDC guidelines is 6 feet apart,
right.
is safe. Wearing a mask is safe. So in a work environment, you know your coworkers. They're your second family.
Right.
It's already hard for people to want to social distance. It's already hard. So when you couple with a company that seems to have challenges with actually taking care of their employees, I'm doubting seriously that they had enforced policies because they rather just get the boxes out. COVID has also brought them new revenue stream because people aren't going out to the brick and mortars.
They're at home.
You can just order it. A click of a button. You have the one click that you can order. You have your renewables now. You can do food, your clothes, toilet paper, all those things that you would normally go to the grocery store for. You can just do a renewable every month or however frequency, dog food, shoes, clothes, whatever you need through Amazon, which is great. That's social distance for the customer. But what about the employees? Is it really safe? And that's the question California was asking. What are you really doing? We have all these things that we know science says works. What are you really doing? Because you went to Congress and said, oh, yes, it's so safe. And then this report comes out on their own, letterhead of internal memos and reports that's complete opposite of what they told Congress. So what's really going on, Amazon? What's really going on with your $200 billion profit for this year? What's really going on?
Right. And talk a little bit about, because we were talking about this right before we went on, but that sort of difference and impact that even introducing the robots kind of caused for the employees.
So when they have the automation added to assist with the employees with the assembly line, so order comes in, you go find the item, you have to bubble and box the item and put it down the assembly line. A lot of centers were upgraded, according to Jeff Wilkes, was to assist the employees. So the repetitiveness of the work at Amazon, especially on Prime Day, which is their holiday, or any big ticket days like holidays, Easter, Christmas, birthdays, all of those things, there's going to be an uptick and an increase. And to get those things out, because we do love our same day shipping or 3-day shipping, or our Prime customers. I am a Prime customer, I'm not going to lie. You want to be able to fulfill those orders without them taking so long. So the robots were implemented to assist and make it easier on people and also make it safer. But what the unintentional fallout is, the assembly line robots had a pace faster than the human pace would go. So it was forcing people to work faster. Working faster unintentionally causes accidents. Hence the 14,000 serious injuries last year. So, they're having some serious challenges of keeping their employees safe. I mean, I don't want my, Funko to, arrive at the behest of somebody, ending up seriously injured or dead because they're not being, that's scary to me. That's really scary to me.
Right. And I mean, the recent wrinkle that we were reporting yesterday was that, the state of California is having to petition Amazon saying, we're going to need you to cooperate a little bit more in terms of presenting documentation. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're a big corporation.
They were being extremely vague. Now, I understand there's two sides of the coins to that. The state of California is asking for the death rate, infection rate of COVID-19. Again, just like I stated earlier, there's really no laws or provisions for that. That's what's new. So it's not an OSHA violation. A CDC recommendation is not a law. There's still a lot of legislation to be had in each of the 50 states over communicable diseases. That's what's new. We're discovering that even though we may have all these guidelines driven by science, there's no have-tos. There's no liability here.
Interesting.
So we have a lot of work ahead of us to make it safer going forward. There's a lot of new nuances here that COVID-19 has really uncovered that just wasn't something anybody thought about before. It's a gap.
Very true. Now, given that kind of loophole, and in the union context, California is not a right to work state, so it's a union state. But what can if someone there is an Amazon employee and they want to be able to take action or unionize, like what are the steps that they can do? What action steps can they take?
So in all 50 states, the AFL-CIO has a home office. I recommend any trade, not just Amazon workers. If you're in a warehouse, because it's hard to determine, like, how does my job apply to that? Nobody has that knowledge just off the cuff. So go to your local AFL-CIO office and call them and say, hey, I work in a warehouse or I work in a grocery store. They will direct you to your local closest union office that handles the trade. And you would just go to that office, make an appointment, whether it's via phone or video conference, whatever's safe and comfortable for you. That union will assist you in organizing your work site. That's what we do here, actually, at CWA every day, in all 50 states as well. So AFL-CIO would be the easiest way to reach out to a union to get organized. If your place is not safe, you love your job, there's no reason to keep trying to find something different. It's easy for someone that may have, a master's degree or doctorate to say, oh, I'll just find something else. Something that's a rarer trade is going to have a higher demand than say, somebody that loves to, be a clerk or an accountant or a secretary or whatever it is you love to do. You have a federal right to organize. You have a right to have a say of what your work environment has, what your pay is. That is on the books of the United States for decades. There is no reason for you not to be at the table when your employer is making decisions about your job.
Well said. I did want to get your take on kind of the recent sort of news. Obviously, California Governor Gavin Newsom had been quite the firebrand in terms of COVID-19 safety and restrictions and everything. There's that face. And of course, in recent weeks, of course, there was the sort of backlash that he got for attending, a holiday party without, with no mask on. And it was kind of a bit of a crowd that he was attending, which kind of eroded his credibility a little bit. And I bring him up because he is the leader for that state where this case is happening. Do you personally feel that kind of erosion of credibility would kind of cascade back down to some of the employers or to even employees, people who are working in that state?
So when a governor who is helping to run the government and you have private sector, everyone has their own personal experiences, opinion of how to handle COVID. Because we never started off with a universal standard to start off with, there are so many different fractions of how to handle it. How do I address it? Do I need a mask? Don't I need a mask? Or maybe only indoors or maybe outdoors. So he was trying to do his due diligence while he was clocked in at work. But human nature is when you are very familiar with someone, You want to be comfortable. And this is so new. You're talking about however many years on the planet we all hugged each other every day, and now we can't. So
Right.
it has to be taken into context. It does give him the appearance of hypocrisy. But again, human nature kind of is, we're people.
Mm-hmm.
We want to logistically do the right thing and logically do the right thing. And on paper, we're at work, we're on task. But in social norms, it's very hard. It's very, very hard. And that's what I will just state on the governor there and with
Mm-hmm.
anybody else. That it's happening all over the country and in the White House, apparently.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You had mentioned you recently heard an audio, I believe, of Tom Cruise that was also kind of making the case for, all of us kind of being responsible for each other, if you will. Kind of talk a little bit about that and how that impacted you.
So when I heard that early this morning, apparently that's what he was really upset. So the thing is, and what most people don't know, anybody on the front lines, whatever your capacity is, this is the end of like 10 months of trying to conform and do the right thing, whatever you think that is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't judge whatever information you got from the CDC and you're trying to follow, so be it. But for those of us that deal with hundreds of people all year, like my office here, I assist with benefits. I've been on call after call about death and all kinds of stuff. Same with Tom Cruise. He is an employer first.
Mm-hmm.
He's already got, he could be in a mansion and locked up, and he did not choose to do that. He's working. So that's also his responsibility. All of those employees, and he, to his point, college, trying to put food on the table. The rules are simple, but you have to make a conscious effort. So him screaming at the top of his lungs, I felt that. I felt that deep in here. Okay, there are times I'm like, but I'm not in a position to do that. I have to be
Right.
kind and cordial. He don't have to be. So I'm like, yes, I am so glad you said it. Now I can play it over and over again. Hey, did you listen to this?
Mm-hmm.
No, I applaud him for he cares, because somebody that didn't care would not say anything. He absolutely cares about the staff and the employees under his umbrella. So I do applaud him for that. However, it came out, no apologies, as he says.
All right. As always, Angel Perry, the EVP of the Communications Local 3108, Communications Workers of America, Local 3108. Thank you, as always, for coming on. Always a pleasure having you.
And anybody needs to be organized at their job site, please reach out. You can Google me, Angel Perry, Orlando. I pop right up.
There you go, guys. All right. Always a pleasure. Take care.
Thank you.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we will take a final commercial break and we will wrap up with our entertainment story. So stay tuned.
We wanted to move back home to be closer to his family. We decided to go with pods because things were stressful enough.
We weren't sure how long we were going to need storage for, so we needed something that was flexible, and then they can deliver the container to wherever we move to.
We haven't found the perfect house yet, but we're still looking.
All right, and our final entertainment story, the Sundance Film Festival is making a kind of hybridized approach for this year, obviously out of consideration for COVID-19, very similar to what the Toronto International Film Festival had to do as well. So they physically staged their 2020 edition pre-pandemic, but now newly installed festival director Tabitha Jackson has unveiled an online hub and a U.S. industry partnerships to carry off a COVID-19 era indie film showcase in early 2021. Now, the 2021 edition has also been shortened to 7 days instead of the usual 10. So the festival will take place for January 28th to February 3rd. And the event will have film lovers mostly scrolling online to view around 70 feature-length films and additional shorts on a tailored digital platform rather than moving on the ground among theaters in Park City to take in those premieres, events, and talks as in the past. Now, as the film festival goes virtual, expect some in-person screenings in Utah and in another 24 U.S. states to take place only if allowed by local health authorities. Jackson said, quote, "The festival this year is an experiment to see how we can most effectively create energy in the service of giving these films a spotlight and a moment." She told this to The Hollywood Reporter after months of scenario planning that preceded today's announcement. She also added that Sundance organizers designed the digital platform to guarantee that the festival could showcase new films and new voices this winter amid the COVID-19 pandemic that they feel is not likely to be brought under control by opening day in late January. She said, quote, "What we didn't know was to what extent people would be able to gather safely in person, and we still don't. The infection rates are still rising." Now, with the hybrid format, much like that of Toronto, London, and New York, people will go online and into physical theaters and drive-in venues whenever possible with capacity restrictions. Of course, the big idea for Sundance is countrywide screening partnerships with indie cinemas and cultural organizations well beyond Utah to ensure, where allowed, the buzz and collective spirit of a traditional Sundance premiere. Jackson said, quote, "We wanted to work with the independent art houses around the country to see how they could help us create the festival this year around collaboration." Now, to build buzz and energy around film premieres, Sundance will debut titles online in dedicated time slots, followed by a live Q&A with artists. Viewers can also begin viewing the films within 3 hours of their premiere start time. And Sundance titles will have a second screening within 2 days of a premiere. The festival will also encourage, as part of its industry partnerships, drive-in movie theater screenings, including in California at Mission Tiki Drive-In in Montclair, the Rose Bowl Drive-In in Pasadena, and the Fort Mason Drive-In in San Francisco. An international component for the film screenings is also said to be in the works, with the details to be unveiled at a later date. The festival's complete film lineup will be available online in the U.S., and the industry delegates are encouraged to purchase an all-access pass to view all the movies that are going to be offered. Now, the film titles have yet to be announced, but Sundance expects to unveil its lineup later on this month. That does it here for us at the Evening News Rundown. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. If you haven't yet, be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. You'll find us at Florida National News on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And on YouTube, be sure to click the little bell icon so you can get all the notifications for all of our shows. And as a reminder, we'd like to invite anyone looking to advertise. Florida National News is a great platform on which to advertise, or if you're looking for segments to sponsor, we have those opportunities available as well. Just shoot us an email at ads@floridanationalnews.com. In the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for continuing to tune in with us. Continue to stay safe. Take care.